everyone, and welcome to the Indie Created Comics Podcast, where we are all about independent comics. I'm one of your hosts, Angel, with John Pepe.
How's it going, Angel?
We are back,
We're
bro.
back. Yes.
Ooh,
It's
after
been a while.
what
It's
is
been
it,
a minute.
2 week, 3 week
I think,
hiatus?
I think 2 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks of books, but 2 weeks. So, yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Things got crazy there for a little bit. So, but I'm glad to be back. I was kind of itching for this because I was like, there's so many books that came out. Obviously, we can't get to every single book that came out in the last, what is it, 3 weeks? Because this would have been the third week,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Because this would be the third Wednesday since we've last been on.
Um,
And yeah, I there are a couple from what we would have done 2 weeks ago. I guess at this point, like that I bypassed. So I think we're just both doing last week and this week's releases.
yeah, I
So.
think I have one from like the week before, though.
Oh, you do, of course. Yes,
Yeah.
our new regular segment. Angel
Yes.
talks about Thundercats X Silverhawks.
Yeah, man. But that'll be for later on. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Indie Creative Commons podcast. This is our review segment. So we've got a little bit of news that we're going to handle off in the beginning, and then we'll go into our reviews. I think we have 7 books, so we're not going to keep you here for 3 hours. We'll kind of skim over the top. I have the heavy bulk of it, which is like 4 books. But before we get there, 2 things. One, watch. I'm going to take a sip of.
Ooh.
Indie comic creator comic
Ah.
cups, man. Oh, coffee tastes so much delicious. But look, it's pretty cool because you have the logo on that side, and then you have sort of like a motto: indie made, creator owned comics
Very cool.
on the back of it. Yes.
Nice.
What I have to learn how to do is make cup for lefties because I'm a lefty. So if I hold it in my right hand, you see the logo. But if I hold it in my left hand, I see the logo.
You see the logo.
Yeah, so I'm gonna make a lefty cup. All right. News number 2. Look at what I have that came in the mail today. Dude,
Nice.
physical copies, bro. So I did a regular stock copy on the main cover. So it's
Okay.
just the self. I think it's 60 pound. Looks pretty freaking damn good. And then that Hulk 181 homage, bro, came out really nice. They did a good job with it. The interiors, I mean, Alex has just been killing it with these black and white interiors. So
Yeah.
I just love it. He's got a really good, just way of laying it out and working on that space. And then towards the end, we did a couple things. We started adding on. Obviously, we still have the journal pieces. I'm not gonna. I don't want to ruin that. But then we started doing like these profile pages on each one of the characters and stuff like that. So we have our own little world going on there. And then just a sneak preview of what's coming.
Yeah.
So issue number 3. Yeah. So obviously a take on Spider-Man 300, and then the back cover of it. So yeah, we got the physical copies in. So I listen. I want to take an opportunity to thank everybody that supported us on Kickstarter because you guys absolutely rock. So you guys are, first dibs into the physical copies. We do have physical copies coming to the general public probably sometime later in the fall. We're trying to finish off like the first arc. So we've got 1, 2, 3's almost in the bag now. That's going to be going up on Kickstarter probably within the next month and a half. And then we'll finish off issue 4. And then that'll be the first trade. So that way, at least we have sort of like that momentum of the first 4 issues in the bank, along with being able to do the first trade for anybody who wants to just collect it all together. So really excited about that. And we're printing our stuff through Comics Wellspring. And their quality is just, yeah, it's really cool, man. I think I'm going to get this one freaking slabbed just to have it slabbed. It'll be fun to have it
Just do
slabbed.
it, yeah. And you're not, no rest for the Wicked, right? Because you guys are hard at work already on the third issue.
Yeah,
So,
well, it's almost done. I mean, the script's been done, so I'm actually starting to letter most
yeah.
of it, and I think we're like 3 pages to the end of Alex finishing off that third issue. So we're really excited, and then it's going to
and,
jump right into issue number 4.
and a little preview of the cover for 3, the main cover for 3
Well,
on
that's
the
going to be
social
the B
media
cover.
post. Or
The
that'll be
main
the video.
cover. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I could actually show you. Oh, I might even do a little contest. So I don't know if you can actually see it because this is just the pencils.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's Persuader and Marek just versing each other. But if I go back, you can't see it a lot. But I think I'm gonna put it up because it's not a really well known cover. But I decided to do 2 homage covers. So one is obviously the Spider-Man 300, and then that one's another homage cover. So I think I might just do a little contest out there and see if somebody gets it, then they get a free copy
Very cool.
of it, which would be cool. So we'll see. Yeah, yeah. So really, yeah, like I said before, just thanks to everybody just for supporting the Kickstarter. We're really looking forward to launching the third one, and then obviously the fourth one after that, and then continuing down the road. We are going to put up digital copies probably within the next couple of weeks. So if you want to read it digitally, then you can. We're still looking at pricing. I'm not going to make it $3.99. There's no way in fucking hell I can't. I can't justify a physical copy being at $3.99, $4.99, and then charging a digital copy. It doesn't make any sense. So I'm talking to Justin about it, and it's definitely not going to be that price. It's going to be something a little bit low. Has to be lower. It makes no sense whatsoever. Digital footprint doesn't leave anything. But yeah, so look out for that. Cool stuff. More Project Shadowbreed news coming down the road. All right, last week, and before we get into comic reviews, I know we have a couple of bits of news, but I definitely want to talk about this past weekend. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
free comic book day, right?
Yep. Free Comic Book Day happened on Saturday, May 2nd. It is the first Saturday of May every year. It was a doubt whether or not this is going to happen this year, but it actually did because of the Diamond liquidation and reacquisition and things like that. The actual trademark name, along with the concept of Free Comic Book Day, was very much up in the air until a few months ago, and everything kind of got worked out. There were actually, as you've pointed out before, two dueling names, because while it was a doubt whether or not anyone could use Free Comic Book Day, another distributor decided to go with Comic Giveaway Day.
So dumb.
So yes, and so yes, so there were actually books given out on Saturday that were branded Free Comic Book Day, and there were books given out that were branded Comic Giveaway Day. But colloquially, it is known as Free Comic Book Day. And we had a blast at the store. It was great seeing you back there in the trenches again. And we had Batman with his he premiered his Batman Returns suit, because this guy has a
Yes.
suit for every Bat occasion. And it was great, man. It was a lot of fun. Beautiful, gorgeous day. A lot of smiles on a lot of people's faces. All the hard work that we put into it really paid off. We had a really good time, at least at our store, and so I've heard from other stores. So yeah, hope you guys out there did go and contribute or participate in your local comic shop's Free Comic Book Day. And if you did come to the Joker's Child in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, thank you very much for stopping by. It was great having you.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, because obviously I'm not in the store anymore. I'm working the back end stuff, so I don't really get to see everybody on Wednesdays, other than you and Len occasionally when you guys are in the store pre-opening and stuff like that. So it was really cool to see some of the old folks that were there. Not just people that patronize the store, but people that have worked there in the past as well. They cycle through, and some of them are not even in the state anymore, and they come back and visit and work that day. So it was really cool. I mean, we had Backheads is just awesome, and he was dressed as Batman '89. So how could you not love that at all?
It was no, it was Batman Returns. It was
it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
It was a yellow thing.
It's still the yellow thing, but
yes,
the plated
well,
armor.
Still,
yeah.
Yes.
There was
'89 Batman.
Yeah, well, no, because 89 we got
yes.
Yeah, because '89 Batman, it's the sculpted muscles. It's got the 2 extra points on the bat symbol, and the cowl looks like someone had said, looks like it was sculpted out of mashed potatoes. Whereas the Batman Returns suit, which is the one that Al was rocking on Saturday, has the same design for the mask, but it's like really sharper and more streamlined and smooth. And then it's like that sort of armor plating instead of the sculpted muscles
that they did for the one.
The bat symbol, yeah.
Yes.
Still
couldn't turn his neck.
Still couldn't turn his neck. No, of course not. That's built into that suit. That's why it's the bat turn, right? So, but there's one shot that a customer took, because we had a great customer friend of ours, Tito, took some pictures, and there's one shot that he took, and it's in black and white, and you can see it on our social media page or the reel. And it's Al Batzquez in the suit in the doorway of the store, but it's in black and white, and I swear it looks like a production still from
Yeah.
Batman Returns. Like it was so, it just looked perfect. It was so
Yeah, some of the pictures that he took were actually, I saw some of them, they were freaking fantastic. If you guys are on Instagram, you go over to Joker's Child Instagram handle, you'll see there's, I think, a reel of him just cycling through pictures and stuff like that that they put up. Is real. I mean, dude, he took some fantastic pictures
yeah.
from some awesome angles and stuff like that. But listen, it comes around once a year. Sort of like this rejuvenation and celebration of what comics are. There were a decent amount of comics too. Whether it's called Free Comic Book Day or Free Comic Giveaway Day, it doesn't matter. I think the culture is still there. I just think the only thing that I think that's missing is sort of like, all right, what makes this year or the next year that's coming up special? So it's not like the same, I guess, I don't want to say gimmick, where it's just the same rotation of year in and year out, same thing. Because it's 20 something years that
Mhm.
we're looking at doing this. So rather than just having the free comics, what else could they do on that day? And I love what the store does. I mean, the fact that they have characters come in and they entertain the line and stuff like that is pretty cool. And then
And
having everybody,
most free comic book days have a movie, a comic book movie, releasing that weekend. And this year, it was The Devil Wears Prada 2. As I think everyone else.
yes,
That's what
because
we
that's the
got this
best.
year.
That's
Free
the
comic
best
day.
superhero movie. Well, yeah, it's that weekend or within the couple weeks.
Mhm.
What do we have coming out? I don't think there's anything coming out except for it's
Spidey in
the
July.
no,
Uh,
but it's in
uh,
this month we have Star Wars.
Mandalorian. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mandalorian versus Groglet
so that
is
would be the
still
movie.
coming.
I'm
Yeah.
assuming it was. I don't even know if there was a Star Wars book because the only book that I was interested in was the Energon verse book.
You're right.
That's it.
Which again, props to Image Skybound for pulling the same trick 3 years in a row. You give away the comic on Free Comic Book Day, and the following Wednesday you
It
release the
releases.
exact same comic, nothing extra for the $3.99 cover point.
Oh my
You are a
god.
genius, Kirkman.
Yes. Well, it's funny because I got to go into the store today, put the clock away and stuff like that. There wasn't enough tape on it, so I left the clock in the box and just sent a message to Len saying, "Hey, just put some more tape on it, blah blah, and put it gently back in the closet for next year." And I
Cool.
got the response back that I thought I was gonna get. It's like next year? Question mark? Question mark? Question mark? So I started to laugh. Yes, yes, next year. It'll be even bigger and better.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So yes, so we got Free Comic Book Day out of the way. We got more sad news, unfortunately. So John, I'll leave it in your hands because, man,
So
we're still getting there.
so two writing legends passed away. Jerry Conway, who again was far less of an indie comic guy than he was a big two, but really did chart some amazing paths and crafted amazing stories and created a bunch of amazing characters for the big two, and then had a great second life writing for like Law and Order and a bunch of television shows and stuff like that. We had someone on our interview show not too long ago who it was so nice to see a young guy in his early 20s who named the president of the United States in his fictional comic universe after Jerry Conway. And the fact that legacy still resonates to the younger generation, I think that's fantastic. So yeah, that was a big loss. And then Len Strazewski, which I think I'm butchering that last name, but again, writer primarily for the big two, but he did write for the late lamented Malibu comics. If you remember Malibu from the early 90s, sort of a bunch of guys who looked at what Image was doing and said, hey, we could do this too. And did it actually well enough that Marvel bought Malibu within a couple years of its inception, only to completely bury the company. But he wrote a big book for that, was Prime, that he did with one of my absolute favorite artists, the late Norm Brayfogle, which Prime was sort of like a riff on the Shazam Captain Marvel trope. Young boy, magic powers, gets muscly, and superhero-y. And so those were guys who did a lot of heavy lifting, especially Jerry Conway. Len for DC brought the Justice Society back into the mix after the Crisis, and they were put away for a little while, and they're still kicking around now basically because of the stuff he did. So, and again, Jerry Conway. I mean, I shouldn't have to tell you that he's responsible for the Punisher and Jason and killing Gwen Stacy and if you don't know that, then there's Google.
Yeah, it's Google. There's really cool stuff there. And I think really poignant stuff that affected a generation and stuff like that. Because the death of Gwen Stacy was fucking crazy, and the fact that they got to celebrate that moment in the movies to some extent, but then also got to sort of have like the redemption of that moment in the follow-up movie was fantastic. I think that was probably one of the best things that I've seen taken from comics that kind of that wasn't in comics, because he never got redemption in the comics for that because Snap dead. But being able to get that in the movies and have it be sort of his moment where he got to shine was fantastic. I thought that was just it definitely got me in fucking heartstrings off of that one, because you could just see all the emotion in Andrew Garfield when he saves MJ, and that he was just right back at that moment where he couldn't save Gwen, and it was just fucking fantastic. So lost. All right, and then you got to do the second part of your interview.
Yeah, so continue my conversation with my good friend Tom Palmer Jr. We did a good hour with him on our Indie Creator Spotlight, so you can catch that here or on this channel, and maybe I'll send you the link, and you can pop it in the comments or something.
For sure.
For that one on my other show, the Pep Talk, which is on a different YouTube channel. That YouTube channel is called Hercules Invictus. So if you want to take a journey into that channel and look for the Pep Talk playlist, you can find the next part of my interview with Tom Palmer Jr. Of course, plugging his Palmer's Picks compilation magazine. He used to write for Wizard Magazine, and his article in Wizard Magazine introduced indie comic creator-owned comics and a lot of indie creators, and just things that were not of your typical Wizard Magazine superhero fare that they were publishing at the time. So he did features on, of course, Neil Gaiman, but Dave Sim, Evan Dorkin, Paul Chadwick, books like Concrete and Bone and Hellboy and all that, just kind of covered it all in 60 some odd issues of Wizard Magazine. And he's putting them all together in a new magazine now called Palmer's Picks. So if you are interested in picking up his magazine, palmerspicks.com is the website.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I'll definitely add the link in, and then we'll put Palmer's Tom's link in there as well, so you guys can check it out as well. It's pretty cool stuff. That was back in the day when everything was actually in print.
Yes.
Trying to move everything online. Listen, I'm all for efficiency and stuff. This is probably going to be my only tangent for today, maybe. But I'm fucking on Lunar's site the other day because I want to look at solicitations that are coming up for the next couple of months. Because maybe I want to order something, right? So cool. Got the DC Connect. Do DC, boom, done. Got the image one, boom, done. Download, I look at it, I say, cool. Then you go over to their fucking, whatever it's called, Lunar something. And because they put every single book in that book, it takes forever to load. Like forever. I got gigabytes of speed, and that's just thinking about whether or not it wants to load. And after like 30 seconds, it was like, nope, error. And I'm like, holy shit. So Luna needs to get their shit together, because at the very end of that, their booklets, because they actually on the Lunar one, I forgot what it's called. I should probably go there and just check it out. But they put all three books. They put the Image book, the DC Connect book, they put the Titan book, and then they have their book with the people that they solicit. They put it all together, and at the very end, you have to go all the way to the very end, is the order form. But if it doesn't load, you can't order shit. So, and what's really cool about it is that you can actually go to, when you're ordering, you can bypass, like, say you go to Image and you find a particular book that you want, then it has where you can actually order it from there. And then it populates the order form at the end that you could just print down and bring to the store. Fantastic fucking idea. the fact that they can't get their shit together, where you're pretty much downloading all of previews in one shot. So it's hundreds and hundreds of pages, but for some reason their system can't handle it a lot of the times.
Yeah,
So
that's par for the course for Lunar. I mean, I guess one of the reasons why we kind of had to push off a week was because Lunar started really shipping books late. There was 2 weeks ago, Lunar books didn't arrive until after we opened our doors on Wednesday. And then that sort of and then with the free comic book day stuff, it sort of had a ripple effect. So Lunar just they do what they do well.
yeah.
Fortunately, they need a bigger operation because
Yeah.
they get a lot of log jams and bottlenecks along the way.
Yeah. But it is what it is. You got to deal with it.
Like downloading a 300-page.
Oh my gosh, it's just insane. Listen, as much of a hassle as previews was, it was right there in your hands. You could flip through. You had the order form. It just made it really efficient and stuff like that. And like I said, I'm all for efficiency, but yeah, I think you can actually download the order form. But I like to see the solicitations for the other books that aren't available on there. So yeah, Luna, get your shit together. All right, that's my rant for this week. We are off and on. So we got, like I said, 7 books. We're looking at the last 3 weeks. This includes yesterday and then plus the 2 Wednesday before. So we took sort of our top picks for the last couple of weeks, and we think that some of these books you actually you might really like. So I think I'm going to start off first. So basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the solicitation that's on site, because that'll keep me focused, and then I'll give my 2 cents, and then we'll go, since we have about 7 books. All right, so the first one is called Dog Tag from Mad Cave Studios. So it's been a while since I've read Mad Cave Studios. Hey, I will say this about this publisher. They are fucking relentless. There's a Mad Cave book like every single week, almost the number one, but they have a bunch of titles. So I'm giving props to them for, I think they've been around for a couple of years now. And they have some really good stories and stuff like that. So you may want to check them out. All right, so this one is called Dog Tag. It is written by Mark Russell, pencils and inks by PJ Holden, colors by JP Jordan, and then lettered by Buddy Boudouin. Boudouin. I guess that's French. I'm going to be butchering a lot of names today. All right, so really quickly, the synopsis. Dog Tag is a fictional story about a very real war. It follows the life and thoughts of Corporal Tom Fuller. Remember that name. Through the final years of World War II, as his service takes him from the invasion of Normandy to the surrender of Japan. Borrowed from real-world stories and little-known events of the war, Dog Tag asks big questions about the war while focusing on the heroism of the ordinary people who lived and died during the conflict. Now, when I read the solicitation originally, because I was iffy about picking up the book, because you know how I am about like real event stuff in books. That's your alley. I was like, no, I can't. But the cover got me because it looks really, really cool. And then I checked out the interiors, and it was really cool. So the art in this book is really cool. There's some really clever stuff that they do. The guy's name is Tom Fuller. He's basically a journalist in the Army. And so he's getting his orders. He's being pulled in at the very beginning. He's getting pulled in by a corporal, by his commanding officer, his CO, and it says, hey, we're sending you to Normandy. He gets excited because he thinks he's going to be on the front line covering the war. They're like, no, you're not going to be covering the war. You're going to be going to so-and-so place that's like a designated zone, and you're going to write fake stories about this particular zone of the army building up more and more and more, and making the people that read the articles anticipate that the growth of this section is getting ready to attack Normandy. So it's sort of like a swit and bait, a bait and switch kind of thing. So they didn't want to use real journalists. They wanted to use him to just write these articles of propaganda to confuse the enemy, saying that their army was being built here, even though it wasn't. So they had like these inflatable tanks that they were filling up, so that anybody who was taking pictures from above would see like all this activity happening, but it was all fake, while the real army was actually getting ready to attack in Normandy on a designated day that wasn't given to this particular guy. So he writes, he's a journalist who writes, but he also draws and stuff as well. So his column is called Tomfoolery, which is fantastic. And then he draws these little doodles. Let me see if I got one here. No, not that one. There wasn't one that was really cool in the very beginning. Ah, so he goes. I don't know if you can see that, but there's like one of his little things. Like the New York Times has those one images, and his name is Tom Foolery, and it says basic training, and you have one army guy here with a rocket launcher, but the rocket launcher falls on the ground in front of the other guy, which is kind of funny, and stuff like that. So he really wants to be part of the war. He wants to be on the front lines. He wants to be writing about the war. He gets his assignment. He's really reluctant to it, and stuff like that. But he does what he needs to do. So he creates these fake stories that are going out there as propaganda and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, he gets new orders. They come to him and say, "Hey, you're going to Normandy." And he gets all excited about going to Normandy. He says, "Am I going to write?" He says, "No, you're going to help the doctors or whatever clean up bodies from the freaking field and stuff like that." Because what happened is they asked him to say to write a story in regards to an anticipated attack on a particular day. They went a day early. D-Day was a day earlier than what they gave him. So D-Day already happened. So when he got there, the beach was already overrun. We had taken the beach, and there were just nothing but doctors and bodies all over the place. So the reason why it's called dog tag is because his job is to collect all the dog tags of the deceased as the doctors give it to him. So I thought it was absolutely hilarious. And so it's going to continue because towards the very end, it leaves it on sort of like a cliffhanger of where it's going to go to next, which is pretty cool. It does have it's based around World War II, and I think, like I said, it's going to go all the way through what happens, all the way to the capture of Japan, through this fictional character and stories that have been told, but not told like that most people know out there, and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool. So if you're like a history buff and you like World War II or war stuff, it's worth picking up because he's funny as it is, and the situation that he's in, he's always 2 steps behind because he's being filtered as information that's not correct. But yet he wants to be in the midst of doing this as a real journalist, but he's not given an opportunity to be a journalist. So I think where it's probably going to go is he's going to get an opportunity to do some of that. And we're going to get some great stories from a guy who wasn't supposed to be in a particular place, but gets to be there, which is pretty cool. So listen, and you know me, I'm normally not up the alley of stuff that's historical or anything like that, but yeah, freaking great book. So if you guys are interested, from Matt Cave, Dog Tag, really cool.
Yeah, I like Mark Russell a lot. He does. He's really good at the sad, lonely, ordinary man in extraordinary situations. So he does some really good stuff. His character work is great. So.
Well, that's exactly what you get.
Nice.
All right, you're up.
All right. I am going to do the one book from this week, from yesterday, that came out yesterday that I have. It is from Image. It is called If Destruction Be Our Lot.
There we go. ...
And this is written by Matthew and Mark Elijah Rosenberg, illustrated by Andy McDonald, colored by Francesco Segala, and lettered by Hassan Atsmani Allahu. And this is really neat. So in a nutshell, this is like the Terminator, but you're not following the actual Terminators or the T-800s and the T-1000s, right? The war is over. Humanity is dead. And all that's left behind are all the service robots. Okay, so your bus has a robot on it. Your maid robot, right? Because this is the far future, right? Where everybody had robots that helped them with everything. So what are these robots that are programmed to help humans do when there are no humans around to help? They wander around trying to fulfill their programming. And your focal robot was an educational robot who was created to look like Abraham Lincoln and act like Abraham Lincoln. And it's kind of genius because there was another Robot Society comic that I reviewed a few months back called Where Does the Rainbow End? And it was a very cartoony, and very rusty metal hunking, junking robots, right? And this is first and foremost the art style very different, very sleek, very streamlined, very kinetic. So here's actually a quick spot here
Oh,
where
let me
you
get you blown up there.
yeah, where you see
Oh, that's cool.
the Lincoln robot getting hit by one of those robot controlled buses, right? And this bus he actually bonds with, and they wind up going on a journey to see what's on the other side of the dome. And they see what's on the other side of the dome, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't want to go there. Let's go back." But now like we kind of broken free of our programming, and we're going to just kind of roam free around the city to places we haven't been. And they happen to actually see a human, the first time in decades that anybody's seen a human.
Hmm.
And that's sort of where it's not that's not the cliffhanger, that's not the end of the first issue. It sort of is a sort of peaking moment of the first issue, and then there's some ramifications after that experience of them seeing the human, and then having the other robots still part of their programming and saying like, oh, you're all rebelling against your programming, and but they're not wise to the human aspect of it. So it's a really interesting, fascinating thing. Like I said, for me the hook of having a robot controlled society where these robots are designed to just aid humans still existing, having their programming still running without actual any humans to assist.
Did they say what happened to the humans?
Nope, it's just they're gone. Haven't seen them in decades. But
God.
next stop, 41st Street. So can I make you your bacon and eggs? Things like that. So it's really interesting to see that. But to have your main robot that you're following be created to look and act like Abraham Lincoln is a really good way, because we all know Abraham Lincoln. We're all designed to sort of maybe like follow a character that looks like Abraham Lincoln.
Right.
So it's a really good in to this idea. And again, about do these robots have free will? Because they're locked in their programming, but they are interacting and talking with each other with a human sensibility. And when I read that this morning, I was like, oh, we're not at that point with robots. I don't know if robots really can't just communicate with each other, can they? And then I remembered these stories of AIs having conversations with each other. And then I'm in the car and I hear this radio story about a robot in South Korea that has just become a Buddhist monk. So I'm like,
we're getting there.
Yeah. So the robot banter that is in here, perfectly acceptable, I think, now in where we're at right now and where we might be going. So yeah, if destruction be our lot, I know Matthew Rosenberg has written a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
And I think he's done some stuff with his brother Mark Elijah before. But I really like this first issue. It's really cool. Its image has been great with this week and last week with having these really good, thick, heavy page count first issues with like almost no ads straight through until you get to the back end. My only issue with this first issue is it does that thing where it's the last panel of the story, and then it's just a bunch of ads. There's no end of book one to be continued.
Got you. Yeah.
In last week's book from Image that I'm going to talk about, there was a letter from the creator type page.
Yes.
This does that thing, and it's not just Image that does this occasionally, but it just ends on that panel. It's a really cool panel. It does its job because you turn the page expecting more.
Yeah,
it's a little bit of a
listen. This is going to be another rabbit hole that I don't want to go down, but I'm glad you mentioned it because this was something that I was going to mention in regards to modern day comics that, like, especially with like stuff that's indie, because it's not known. And I think the more information that we can give, if it's not really succinct, or it's not a full 3 acts in the first issue, it's a really tough bite. And so I'll start with one number. I wish more independent comics were like movies in the sense of title wise. So when we look at titles, What I listen for in movies is the title of the movie being said in the movie or being referenced in the movie because
Like
it
that, like
makes
in that movie when they're like, "Boy, I'm tired of these Star Wars. We need a new hope."
yeah, yes. But that's one that never said it, right? And I
No,
think in
of
Star
course,
Trek they
no.
don't say Star Trek either. But if
Yeah.
we look at a lot of movies, almost all movies have the title in the movie.
Hmm.
It's being said at one point. And so, but if we look at titles of comics that we know, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Yeah. Right.
Batman,
Yeah.
uh, we'll take more independent. Do a Power Bomb.
Hmm.
I mean, it was in the comic because that was the main move and stuff like that. When what I'm trying to get at is when you have a title that's in the story and it makes sense and people don't have to guess, then it makes it, I don't want to say more legible because you can still read it. I think there's a connection.
Mm.
Like if destruction be our lot, it's probably not going to be in any of the text
It
at all.
actually is because
Stop.
it is because that is a part of a speech that Lincoln gave. And remember, this guy's function is to stand there in and deliver Lincoln's speeches.
Did he say the actual
And he
words?
does say he
Then
does
I
he
fucking love
says
it.
yeah, but of course all these other robots don't freaking care. They're just like, oh, it's that guy,
Yes.
that crazy robot saying these speeches again, because there's no audience, there's no human audience anymore for him to deliver.
So is it all based around that speech that he gave?
It's sort of that's like his main programming. And then again, something has happened where they can break free of their programming enough,
Right.
especially where they can react and respond. So they're not locked in, like they are sentient and they are self-aware.
Yes.
So he understands, like, when he glitches, he knows how to hit the reset in his eye. Like he knows how to, like, you know, he knows when no one's paying attention to him giving the speeches,
Mm.
and then he, can move on from that, and then desire he actually has desire to see if there's anything more beyond. And is that because his base programming is Abraham Lincoln, and that he's just designed to react like Lincoln in whatever situation? He has to learn how to drive. He winds up having to drive that bus at some point, and he has to figure out how to do it. And he says, my base pattern was killed in 1865. I don't know how to drive a car.
Right.
So it's as if you have Lincoln responding, but he's to a situation, but he is aware that he's a robot.
Oh, okay. All
So
right.
he does bounce back and forth between Lincoln's speeches and an actual reaction in real time.
That's hilarious. Okay, yeah, because there's plenty of books that still out that are just they don't have it. Just it drives me insane. So I wish closely to that so that it can resemble what the actual book is about.
Yeah.
And unless you're like a history buff, you're probably not going to know that.
I mean, they do. I mean, it's very clear. Like they do. If you didn't know, you would know by reading.
Then you would
this,
know in there and whatnot. All right. Well, that was one of my pet peeves. And then the other one is all right. So we're world building with a story that most people aren't going to be aware of. Characters are not going to be aware of. Taking note from like the early 80s and then big on the 90s stuff, especially when Image came out, all the superhero books. You'd have like this splash page of all the superheroes and their names would pop up right next to them, kind of thing. It's cheesy, but you knew who was who and who was in the story, telling the story in that sense. And a lot of times we get these new stories where we don't even get names in the stories, or we don't get them to the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you want to connect to people or connect to anything, if you want to connect to anything in life, you give it a name. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden it's real to you. Mm-hmm. And if you don't get the name until the very end of the journey, then it's difficult to connect to that thing because you had nothing to associate it with from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one thing. If you're not going to give them a full 3-act and leave them suspended at the very end, then at the very least, give them a letters page. Mm-hmm. And say, hey, listen, this is what you just experienced. This is where we're looking forward to going to. So please hang on for the ride. I think when they do that cutoff, that's the Sopranos cutoff in mid-sentence, go to black thing. You invested your time to read this, and then all of a sudden you get cut off at the end and there's nothing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're going to feel one of two things: either connected to the story you just read and continue, or fuck, it wasn't worth it.
Right.
I'm not coming back.
It's a solid ending. I mean, it's a solid ending to the first issue. There's no doubt about that. But it would have been nice to, and I know maybe that's the effect they want you to have. They want you to turn the page and have that being like, oh, I wanted more. I was expecting more, rather
But
than
here's
being
the
like,
challenge, right? Here's the
Yeah.
challenge with that is that we have so much that comes out every week
right,
that if somebody's not invested, and then somebody's reading, another 2 or 3 books, and the other 2 or 3 books may not be as good,
Mhm.
but are giving them that extra information that they need in order to come back. Yes, then
Mhm.
there's, I don't know. Maybe there isn't a magic formula, and maybe it's just my old brain. But
Right.
I just think people at the very beginning, especially with independent comics, need a little bit more, whether
Mhm.
it's just a little tiny bit of a background or I don't know, just something. I mean, a letters column at the very least.
Yeah. It also makes me wonder, like, again, a lot of things are written designed to be collected because that is just now a natural part of this the life of a comic book story, right?
Mhm.
And part of me wonders too is like, when it does get collected, will there be a chapter break with the cover of this, like they
Mm,
sometimes do in a collection, or is it just going to run right through,
right.
right? The last page of this issue, turn the page, and it's the first page of the second issue
Next
without
issue.
a chapter break. So I was wondering if that's like tipping the hand as well, right? Uh,
Oh, I think we lost you there. Oh,
Obvious.
there you go.
Oh, so minor quibble. Really love the first issue. Really cool concept. Again, I like the idea of telling a robot story, but using one of the most familiar and sort of honored and trustworthy humans as your focal point, even though it's a
Right.
robot version of that guy. It's cool stuff.
All right, hilarious. Okay, yeah, that's my pet peeve, and I'm gonna have more of them, so we're just gonna have to live with it. All
Yes.
right, moving on. All right, Abattoir 6. This is from an imprint that I've not heard of, Iron Age Horror. All right, so here we go. So let's start with the creative team. It is written by Mina Elwell and AC Medina. Talk about him in a second.
Mhm.
Artist, Anna, I'm going to butcher this last name, Wyshik, I believe. The colorist is Tristan Elwell. Well, I guess he's related or married to Mina. And then letters by Rob Jones, edited by John Santana. So now, John and I always talk about the Joker Child in Fairlawn. AC used to frequent the comic store. I met him there a couple times. He's a writer, really good stuff. I've read some of his stuff, really cool. I'm going to read the synopsis real quick because the synopsis is actually what made me buy this book. All right, so Escape from New York meets 30 Days of Night in a Mad Max future. Fuck, I'm sold right there. That's three of the freaking my favorite movies. Albatross 6 is a post-apocalyptic story about a group of prisoners attempting to escape an Alcatraz-sized complex while being hunted by monstrous vampires. Done. So good horror stuff. I like horror stuff. We read a lot of Colin Bunn stuff. He's really great at it. So I picked it up. The cover is actually really cool. You can see it on the side there as well. Something that I found really intriguing. Uh, so we were just talking a little while ago in regards to the naming convention and stuff like that, having names to deal with. I think this is something that the book itself suffered a little bit from. So we don't get to know the main character's name until the very end of the book when they're yelling at him. But basically, what you have is you have this guy named Axel who's narrating the story in regards to where these guys are. We don't know what time, what place they're in. We know that it's a post-apocalyptic. We don't even know if it's America, but they're sort of like in this big sort of prison-like place, and being overseen by vampires. Now it's cool in a sense because the vampires are breeding the humans, so they have human breeders that just make more humans, and then they have them working in different sections. So they have women working, in different sections of this prison, along with the men doing different things throughout the prison as well. And then every night they choose X amount of people that they're going to have as meals. So everybody in that system is food and sustenance for all these vampires that run it. But the vampires are smart enough to know that they don't want to run out of food, so they have this whole breeding process, upbringing process for the humans and stuff like that. So we follow Axel throughout the book, and he talks. Like I said, he's narrating pretty much what they've done, and how he's grown up here. He was born here, lived here all his life, and then basically towards the end, you see they're disposing the bodies that they had for that day, and he's asking his friends not to worry about, because they're outside, not to worry about the vampire that's overseeing them, because they've already had their fill for today, so they're safe. So if they've not killed you by now, you should be okay. But then we find that this one vampire just starts to freak out and then kills the guy that's right next to Axel. And then they have this whole little chase and stuff like that. And then one of his friend, we get to know the other person's name. His name is Flint. And he's the person that everybody, the entire population cannot stand, because he's just one of these people that just gets under everybody's nerves. But he's being pulled into sort of like underneath this pile of bodies, sort of like into this like hole or opening, and he's thinking that it's a vampire and stuff like that. And then we get sort of our twist at the very end of, yeah, we find out it's not a vampire. It was almost that it reminded me of the Predators moment with Lawrence Fishburne. Do you remember that one, Predators? It was Lawrence Fishburne. Who was the guy that was playing in the piano? What the hell's his name? Can't remember. He was also in the Manhattan Project movie.
Yeah, Adrian Brody.
Yeah, Adrian Brody. So he was in that as well. And there was sort of like that Lawrence Fishburne moment of Lawrence Fishburne being on this planet for X amount of time, not being noticed by the Predators. So we sort of have like that moment in this book. So I thought, listen, the pacing in it was really cool. You got to meet some particular characters. You got sort of like this organizational structure of society in this book. For me, there wasn't, I think, the emotional attachment. There wasn't the urgency of, having to escape or survive or live. There wasn't any despair, that like any type of emotion I was looking for in this particular character. It was more like, this is how things are. This is the way things were. This is what we're doing now. This is how everything's going. Oh my God, now something's happening. And then we get this thing at the very end kind of thing. So it's not bad by any means. I think for me, what I'm always looking for is, all right, what's that hook that's going to get me to come back for a little bit more? And then similar to you, except, I get the little hook at the end, but then there's nothing afterwards. I wish this would have had either a letters column talking about their journey, about what the story means to them, or, what to expect and stuff like that. Or maybe a little background information on some of the characters, or maybe even a little bit of better background information of the location and stuff like that. Like, one of the things that was one of my favorite things in Dork was every time you open up the front page, you get the map of where everything is. You get the map of the light, the dark, and then all these obscure places in the map that are locations that he uses inside the book, which is fantastic, because those locations are real and he's using them in the book. So I think having that, being in a dark, no pun intended, because it's about vampires, I think was the one thing that I wish I would have had a little bit more light put on some of the stuff that I had questions about. So yeah, I mean, if you like vampires and you like that whole concept of, Escape from New York kind of thing, and it meets Mad Max, check it out. There's some pretty cool stuff in there as well. For me, I think what it is, I wanted more off of this. So I think I actually might pick up issue number 2 and see if those questions are kind of like answered in there, and see where the momentum is going to go on that. But this might be one of those where I just pick it up in a trade, because it'll be the one story in the shot, and I bet you get all my answers or questions answered probably by the end of either the 5th or 6th issue in this particular book. So yeah, check it out. Cool. Iron Age horror books. Okay. You're
All right. Yes. So I have a book from last week that is also from Image, and it's called Red Roots. And
Red Roots.
And you can tell from the cover that's a no-brainer for me. It's got a black cat snuggling up to like a rotting severed head. So I'm in. I'm in right from the cover alone. This is a near perfect first issue. It is extra sized, no ads. It doesn't tell you an end of chapter 1 or to be continued on the last page, but that's fine because it's literally the last page of the comic book.
Nice.
And then on the inside back cover, you have a letter from the creator. The creator is Lorenzo De Felici. He is the writer and artist. It is lettered by Russ Wooten and designed by Drew Gill. And that's it for the credits, man. That's it.
That's all you need.
That's all you need, right? And the really neat thing about this, as Lorenzo De Felici explains in the letter on the inside back cover, this is what happens when he came up with two ideas, very separate and not connected, and said, I'm gonna find a way to connect these ideas.
Okay.
And this is what this comic's gonna be.
Good luck.
And honestly, it really works for the first issue because you have two different stories bouncing back and forth. And your first story is this guy who is going through some facility, just systematically wiping people out. First, it's stealthy, and then it escalates. About halfway through, you realize this guy has a gun, and it's all John Wick style shooting. And then you're sort of like, well, wait a minute. If he had a gun the whole time, why was he being all stealthy at the beginning? If he knew as he went, to get to the top man, because he's going for the top man, and you find out, why he's going for the top guy in this facility. So at some point, you're sort of like, this guy's just showing off in the way that he is just systematically wiping out people in this facility that is doing some sort of scientific research, but there's a whole nother thing at play from what I could tell in this first issue. Your other story, besides this sort of John Wick action movie thing that's happening as this guy's rampaging through this facility to get to the top man, is this very lonely teacher. She lives alone with her two cats. And she just, she's sort of like, to bring up Batman Returns again, she's sort of like Michelle Pfeiffer, Selena Kyle in Batman Returns, right? And she comes home one night, and in the middle of her living room is a severed, rotting head. She goes to the police. Of course, she's a suspect. She has to, stay away for like a day while they, search for clues. They can't find any information. There's no DNA that's traceable on the severed, rotting head that this woman found in her apartment. So after about, a day, she gets the all clear, and she gets to go back home. And sure enough, when she goes back home, there's more severed heads. There's like not just one, but there's like a whole like room full of them later on. Like she just starts seeing like severed heads in the bathroom, and like in the bathtub there's a severed head, and she can't get away. And then in the kitchen cupboard, there's all these severed heads.
But they look like they've been dead for a while.
Yeah, they are severed, rotting heads. Jeez. And so you have, again, you're still cutting back and forth between the guy rampaging through this facility to get to the top man because of what this man did to this girl in this Polaroid picture that this guy has. And then, as if the severed heads thing wasn't enough, there's a supernatural element that does show up in both stories by the end of the first issue. And it is they are such intriguing and cliffhangers that I think this book is just so worth it to check it out, because you kind of get an answer to where these severed heads are coming from on that very last page of the book. But it is so bizarre and sort of out of the realm of what you've even experienced before, even with these severed heads showing up in this woman's apartment. Right. So the other end of that is, with the man, John Wicken and his way through this warehouse to this top guy, that supernatural element that sort of happens to him comes out of nowhere. And, you're like, okay, now, so now where are these two stories going? They're both intriguing. Where are they going to connect and how? But it's just a beautifully illustrated, really um, I mean, one of the best paced comics that I've read in a long time,
Nice.
especially the way it bounces between the two stories. And
Yeah.
you have one thing that's happening, over the course of like an hour. You have another story that's happening over the course of a couple days, but the way that they cut back and forth between the two is just pure narrative engine, just locomotiving, to that last page reveal. and
Nice.
and I can't wait for more of this. This book was so good. I was so happy to be able to check this one out.
Yeah, I like his art. He's got this like painterly style that I really, really enjoy. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
I'm definitely gonna read it. So
you'll
quick
love the
question though.
you'll love the action beats. Like they're so well done. Yeah.
So Red Roots, is it in the book?
Oh, that no, visually,
Visually,
but
but
not
no
not
mention.
said, but possibly down the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll leave it open at that. All right, guys, check it out. Red Roots from Image Comics. You won't be disappointed. All right, I'm next. All right, so we're gonna move. I have the next two, right? So we'll go through this one.
All right.
I like this cover, man. I don't know why. It's
Yeah,
just
it's really cool.
really appealing to me. It's just so different. This one is called Strength in Ash. This is my first Keen Spot book. I've never read a Keen Spot book
Hmm.
before. So Strength in Ash. Words and story by Evan Posios, pencils, inks, and layouts by Stefano Cardoselli, and colors by Francesca Perillo, and letters by Letter Squits. All right, cool. So really quick on the synopsis, and I'll do my little spiel. So from the acclaim, I'm gonna read that. Blah blah blah. So when young Ash's superhero father is savagely murdered, all that remains of him are comic books, action figures, and memories. As a cruel world pushes Ash further into depression, he discovers that sometimes a father's love can reach from beyond the grave. A little obscure, but interesting and stuff like that. So, all right, what did I think? One, the cover, it just kind of drew me. And then when I look inside, there's almost like let me see if I can get this on here. Not the style, but sort of like the painterly style of
Mm.
Jeff Lemire, because he uses watercolors and stuff like that. So there was a lot of that in here that I thought was really, 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 really cool. I mean, the color choices and the color palette and stuff like that. The lines are really loose off of it. It's almost like even the frames and everything are sort of like hand drawn. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, just some really
Mm.
cool stuff in there that I dug and stuff like that. And just really, really loose. Sometimes so loose that you kind of like have to squint your eyes to see if it makes another image and stuff like that. But basically, what you do is you have an opening with Ash's father, who I guess is supposed to be some kind of superhero, um, showing him beating up some bad guys, and then obviously showing his demise towards the very end. And then you have Ash narrating the story while he's holding on to an urn with his father's ashes and stuff like that. And there's almost sort of like it's almost like prose. It's almost like not so much dialogue, but it's almost back and forth of like internal dialogue, but almost in a prose sense where it's almost like a poem kind of thing in our respects. So he's talking, about missing his dad, and then he's, I guess, walking back home. I'm assuming, and then he has some punks that come out of nowhere, some kids or bullies that pick on him, and I can't tell how old he is. He has to be old enough that he can live on his own because he's living on his own, but he looks like a young teenage kid, and he's living in this, like, I guess you pay per week hotel kind of place. So these kids just, they bully him, or these guys bully him, throw some stuff in his face, and he's just, talking to himself, reminding him about his father and stuff like that. And then he goes to lay down, and he doesn't know if it's a dream or if it's happening, but the ashes of his father, spew out of the urn, and, give him some words of wisdom, talking about how he's stronger than, he thinks he is. And then he just makes this kind of like superhero kind of like face, and then he walks outside and stuff like that, of his home, and he runs into those same three guys that bullied him before, and they say, "Do you want some more?" And then he beats the shit out of them. That's pretty much it. And then you get at the very end, sort of like, I don't know if those are actual powers coming out of his hands, or if he just is going to become this vigilante guy that his superhero dad was. So his dad obviously didn't have superpowers because they killed him basically just like you would kill a regular human. But I think he was just one of these guys, sort of like a street level kind of vigilante, like a daredevil. Yeah, it was. This is probably one of those where I want to read it straight through. I want to wait for the trade to kind of just see how it all kind of falls together. There wasn't enough. Like this is another one at the very end. You don't get anything but just what the next issue cover of the issue looks like, and then some ads. It really would have been cool to just get a little bit more. If this was a double-sized issue, probably would have got a little bit more of what we needed off of this. Because this I mean, look at the image right here. You've got his father behind him, superhero costume and stuff like that, and you've got this kid holding his urn with this face of sadness. I wanted that in the book. I wanted to feel his pain, and I didn't feel it. So I don't know if it was something that I missed or the writing didn't lead me that way. But I think the from the moment of opening to what we got at the very end was really quick, and there wasn't anything in the middle to get me from one side to the other. That bridge was a little disconnected for me, and I think it probably picks up in the other books and stuff like that. All the questions that I have in my head, which is probably why I'm going to wait for it to come out. So not bad by any means. The art I really dug when I opened it. I'm not a big watercolor person, but when you do it well, similar to like I said, Jeff Lemire, similar to like Peach Momoko, it looks really, 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 really cool. And there's some stuff in here that was just was really cool. I don't do a lot. A lot of my lines are really tight. It's hard for me to be loose. I wish I could be this loose, because sometimes when you leave some of the lines really loose and open, there's room for interpretation and imagination for the reader and stuff like that. So not any two people are going to look at it the same, because it's I don't want to say it's abstract, but it almost seems that way, and people can get different things out of it, which is what I really picked up from this book. That was one of the things that I was looking at. I was like, oh my God. And I went back and started looking at it again, and I saw things or picked up things that I didn't see before, which was really cool. So that's what I really appreciate about this book. As far as the story, I wish I just got a little bit more. I mean, you're looking at a price point of $5.99, and it's still within that realm of 22 to 24 pages, and then whatever the ads are and stuff like that. So yeah, if you like superhero books, this is probably something you want to pick up. Strength and Ash from Keen Spot. I would check it out, but I'm probably gonna wait for the trade off of that one. But yeah, really, that front cover, all like really similar to Do a Power Bomb. In that respect. Wait, didn't you have one more?
Oh, I do have one more. Yeah.
Yeah, you do have one more.
Yeah. So you want
yeah.
to do mine, and then we'll do
Yes.
our new recurring segment. Angel talks about Thundercats X Silverhawks.
Yes.
All right.
Cool. All right.
So Strength and Ash, Keen Spot. That looked, yeah. It's interesting. That cover does also remind me of early Scotty Young.
Yes.
When he was a little more Sienkiewicz before he went into that Scotty Young style.
But if you really squint, though, you can almost see Daniel Warren Johnson in there.
Definitely. Yeah,
definitely. For sure. So, I mean, that was one of the reasons why I picked it. I looked at it real quick. I thought it was him, but then you get a closer look and you realize that, there's some similarities, but yeah, cool.
Which is funny because, you mentioned Do a Power Bomb before, and you mentioned Daniel Warren Johnson. This book from new publisher Pesto Comics, from Parts Unknown, is a wrestling comic with a bit of a supernatural slant. And there's, before I get into the book itself, there's a great 3-page text piece in the back from Pesto Comics, explaining what Pesto Comics is, why they did this comic, and one of the inspirations for this comic, besides the writer's love for late 80s, early 90s wrestling, professional wrestling, and to today apparently, was Do a Power Bomb. He does cite Do a Power Bomb as an inspiration for not just this comic, but doing comics in general for this guy. So this is from Parts Unknown. And it is written by Adriano Ariganello. I hope I got that right because that sounds
Probably
Italian.
not.
I'm Italian. Artist Daniel Caval, colorist JP Jordan, production and design Travis Escarfullery. So Pesto Comics is, I just want to get, as I think this is such a fascinating and great success story. So Pesto Comics was a Kickstarter that was so successful that they are now publishing in stores, and they lay out basically their publishing schedule for the next year. It looks like
Nice.
in the back of this. So they have plans, and I really hope that they can see these through. They're very ambitious, but it's going to be really cool. And there's a nice little inside back cover ad, pestocomics.com. Some of the characters from this book are in there, as well as some from upcoming books as well. So
Awesome.
Very cool stuff. Yeah. So I just love the fact that these guys did it, man. These guys had that Kickstarter. They went to conventions. This is the stuff we talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they did well enough that they got their stuff out in stores and with more on the way. And this was a really, really good offering, really good first issue.
Now, is this through Lunar or through PRH?
This, it's funny because it was last week. I think
Sounds like a Lunar thing.
I think it was through Lunar. I think it
Okay.
did make it through Lunar. Yeah. I'll have to double check on that, but I think it was Lunar. So this is about two brothers who are masked wrestlers, and they travel, gig to gig, man, city to city, arena to arena, and they put on shows. They are hired to go to this very weird town, and they go to this town, and their job is to lose in a 2-on-1 match to this really scrawny, skinny guy, right? Who just acts all tough, right? But they're just like, these guys are massive, right? These two brothers, they're massive. They're massive, masked wrestlers. This guy's like just like a little punk. You can see on the inside back cover there. Let's see if you can see that skinny guy in the leather jacket. Yeah. So he's real pompous. He's a real jerk. And one of the brothers is a real hothead. And so things escalate, and they get into a fight backstage, and this guy is unreasonably strong for a really skinny jerk, right? There's a clue on the cover. You can see, I think you can see there's a little bit of a clue on the cover there. Yep. So there is very much a supernatural element, much like your Abattoir 6. And so it's got a great cliffhanger ending where this brother seemingly thinks that in the course of trying to defend himself from this supernaturally strong bully of a wrestler backstage, he may have actually jeopardized their entire gig. So that's how it looks like. But if you know anything about mythological lore, it's not quite what this guy thinks it is, because certain elements need to be involved, right? So instead of we'll say instead of wood, it's metal. Okay. So, but I like, honestly, this was such a fun, first issue of a comic. The art is just really like, it's really loose, but it's refined, right? So it reminds me a lot of, say, like Batman the Animated Series, Bruce Timm sort of stuff,
Yeah.
So it's all very, clean lines, very few lines, but a lot of kinetic, a lot of action. Things are moving, characters are expressive, and it really does convey the weirdness of the town. Everybody's there is not quite, I don't know, seems like there's something more going on. Like there's a waitress at the diner that they go to that is just a little too nice. She even leaves her job to sort of link up with the two brothers as they go to this gig. So she's backstage when all of this happens. But there's something off about everybody in this town. Not just the supernatural wrestler, not just the waitress, but the guy who's running the show at the arena as well. Some real shady business, real shady characters with these two clueless musclehead wrestling brothers, basically who's got to sort or fight their way out of this whole mess. So
That's
I
funny.
can't wait for the rest of this ride because it was
So
really
they
fun.
come to this town, or this is a traveling show that
So they're
they bumped
hired. So
into?
they go town to town, but they were specifically hired to go to this town, to this arena, to
And do we
face
know
off
the
against
motives
this.
of the antagonist or no?
Not necessarily. Just
Okay.
just that he wants, he the guy's very like seems like very little mob shady.
Okay.
And there's this whole thing where there are murders, there are sacrifices that have to be made,
Okay.
and this guy's sort of responsible to this, for what's going on. But he's so powerful that the sheriff has to, works with him to cover up the shady business.
Yeah.
So it involves a lot of like, when these guys show up at the arena, there's a guy with a power hose spraying away, not red paint from in
Right.
front of the arena, right?
So
So
that's where I was going, because I'm thinking these
yeah,
guys are gonna run into some kind of room where there's just gonna be a bunch of dead wrestlers all over the place.
exactly. I mean, already look, you can tell on the front cover there, they're fighting a Dracula. So,
Oh,
there's gonna be, some more Draculas going on, and a lot of blood is gonna be shed. And like I said, I think these two brothers aren't smart enough to smart their way out of this.
right.
So it's just gonna be just suplexing and pile driving Draculas until the sun comes up, and then they all burst into flames.
All right, I'm gonna have to check it out then. I came really close to picking it up, but I was like, listen, I already read Do a Powerbomb, and I don't think there's gonna be anything that's gonna make me want to pick up another wrestling book, because that was just like the epitome. And we
I
had supernatural elements in that book too.
Yeah, of course. I agree. But this is so different in tone and I think intention. You Do a Power Bomb was a love letter to his child from a new
Yes,
dad, who
yes,
had also a love letter to his newly found love of professional wrestling because he was a new dad. This is just guys who love wrestling and love horror movies like From Dusk Till Dawn, and
that's where I was going. Yeah.
just want to tell, I think, what's going to be a crazy violent story.
All right.
That's just going to be just fun comics. Yeah.
So we probably just needed a titty twister, and it would have been good. That was good. Yeah, BMD nerd. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely check it out. So, yep, cool, awesome. There you go. From Parts Unknown, Pesto Comics, right?
Yeah, Pesto, brand new,
Yeah, brand new publisher. All right,
nice and
awesome.
pulpy, like they say, like pesto.
Like pesto. All
They
right, cool.
tell
All right,
pulpy stories.
one more to go. So listen, we spoke about this event. I've been going, ad nauseum. So really excited for it. If you're a kid or a product of the '80s and grew up in the '80s, and saw Thundercats and Silverhawks, this is for you. You got 3 books. You got Thundercats X Silverhawks, which is the main book. It's the main storyline, and basically we have this. We're getting more and more out of it. So we know that there's going to be a war between the Thundercats and Silverhawks, and it affects what's going on in the future. And this particular book here, Thunderhawks, is that future. So you have Pumra, Bengali, a couple other guys. I forgot who they were. But here, what I was talking about before. Let me see if I can pop myself up real quick and then just shoot to it. Let me see if I can find that page, because this is exactly what I was talking about when you're doing stuff in comics. Now, I know this is not good radio, but here it goes. All right. So they're all sitting around, and then you have all these bubbles that are around them that have their names of who they are. So when you have a group of people that are not calling each other by name, you know exactly who's talking and who the person actually is. So
I
that way,
like
when they
when
reference,
they go one better, and it's the character's actual logo. So as if like they're saying their name in the Iron Man logo with the rivets and all that stuff.
yes, no, that, and I'll go one more where they give like little character
Stats.
bio information stats. This is the artillery person, this is the communication person, this is the asshole, this is whoever. But yeah, so you got Flashback, Pumra, Linkso, Ligon, and I think there's a couple more as well. Like I said, Bengali before as well. And this is the future of, so I don't think there's different Earths, because they're on Earth 6,
Hmm.
as opposed to Third Earth. So this is 6th Earth. Third Earth is a timeline. So they want to get back from 6th Earth to Third Earth. So they want to go back to before the war happened to prevent this particular future. And basically, in this future, you have what they call the Dark Birds, which was the technology that Silverhawks was based off of, and they've taken over everything. And you have these Thundercats who are trying to get back, who are using old school Silverhawk technology to be able to get around and do what they need to do to be able to try to get back. So from what I understand, they've been stuck here for the better part of 6 years in this timeline. And what they want to do is get back to the point before the war started to hopefully change this future. Dude, I'm just digging it because you got two separate teams of what's going on in the future, what's about to happen that hasn't happened yet, but we're watching that unravel, and you're watching the team trying to get back to whatever's supposed to happen. And then you have the Origin Mumra book. I'm pretty sure that's going to work its way in, and we see what happens after this. There's no spoiling anything. At the very end of this freaking book, you get Monstar, which is absolutely fantastic because he's running the show, and Monstar was running that entire dimension of wherever, or the galaxy that the Silverhawks were from. So we know that he's a big part of why this future is the way that it is. And these guys are just trying to get back. And at the same time, they're, trying to mess with whatever, what was it called? New Haven or anything like that, or Hawk Haven, that they're trying to take down and stuff like that. So yeah, really cool. Like I said, if you're a child of the 80s, you watch this. Really cool because we get some lore that we didn't get from the cartoons. I mean, Silverhawks only ran for one season, even though it had, I think, a bunch of episodes. I think just under 100 or somewhere around there, which is crazy. And you had Thundercats that ran for 4 seasons. But in those 4 seasons, we never really got the lore of or the origin of Mumra. So we get that, which is pretty cool, and then you get this pretty much this nifty story that's going to last all the way to August. So I'm 100% in. Declan Shalvey's writing most of it. So for the main storyline, for Thunderhawks, it's written by Ed Bryson, who I like. Bryson he did Wolverine in them as well, right?
Yeah, but isn't he writing the Silverhawks comic as well for Dynamite? Is it that? That's how.
No, that's Declan. I thought that was Declan.
Declan's doing Thundercats and Silverhawks.
Yes.
Oh,
you know what? You're right. I think it might be Ed Bryson on that one.
Yeah.
So yes. Then you've got artist is Vincenzo Federici, colors by Robbie Bavard, and letters by Jeff Eckleberry. And then it's published by Dynamite. So yes. So I forgive Dynamite for what they do with their is it them? Yeah, it is fucking them. I'm gonna put it right there. It's right there. Stop doing that. Get your serial numbers correct. But yeah, listen, credit to them because they shifted from just doing Red Sonja and all these Vampirellas and all these like hot women books and shifted out and bought licenses for a whole bunch of stuff that they're doing now. Kudos to them for doing the Thundercats and stuff like that. The other book that I'm actually looking forward to is actually coming to Image, which is Mask. Crusaders. That's going to be under what's his face? Skybound.
Skybound is part of the Energon universe. It's
so all these 80s revitalizations coming back.
I mean, I gotta say though, just having the fact that the Energon universe, G.I. Joe exists because Transformers are on Earth. What is the great logical extension of that? A team that is Masked, that is a mix of Transformers and G.I. Joe.
Yes, it's the Mobile Strike Armor Command. We need them.
Yeah.
What's really cool about what they did for this particular series that I enjoy is that at the very bottom of each one of the books, it tells you what part you're in.
Ah, okay.
So if you ended up wanting to get the entire series and collect it, you would know the reading order that you should read it in. So yeah, it's stuff like that. I mean, this is what I love and hate about comics is there's no standardization in comics. So you can pretty much do whatever you want to do, which is great. But if you don't do it well, it can become very frustrating, especially when you're doing a crossover with 3 comics and you want somebody to be able to hop into the story. Just being able to do something small like that will let you know, okay, I got this is issue 3 or 15, where are the other 2? Yeah. Oh, they're not this book. It's 2 other books, but it's all part of the same story kind of thing.
But the biggest trick that you have to be able to successfully do is So this is a 15-part storyline, 3 5-issue miniseries, and their reading order, is their publication order, right? So
Right.
it's Thundercats X Silverhawks #1, and then it's Mumra Origin #1, and then
Yep.
chapter 3 is this Thunderhawks, right? And then lather, rinse, repeat, straight through like that again. So the trick, though, is to be able to write them so that they read 1 through 15 in their publication order seamlessly, but also you could split them up into 3 separate collections and have each of those 3 as its own read as a clean story as well.
Yes.
That's the challenge. I think they're onto it something, because again, with the Mumra thing, like you said, Thundercats fans have been hungering for Mumra's origin for decades. So to be able to do it as this middle mini series that hopefully we'll be able to read and stand alone, and then to have these people be like, oh, let me check out this crossover on either ends here, So
Yes.
I think that they're onto something. I hope that they this pays off.
Here, I'm going to call it. So this is reminding me of, and we'll see if it happens. I'm calling it right now. There's going to be a fight between Mumra and Monstar. And it's absolutely going to be set up by these guys. And it's that moment of, what was it? It was in Teen Titans versus Justice League kind of thing. No, was it then? No, it wasn't then. No, it was Justice League Dark, the Apocalypse.
Oh, the Apocalypse War thing. Yeah,
Yes,
and it's going to
yes,
reset.
yes,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And so this is where they had Raven, who had Trigon trying to escape, and they couldn't figure out what to do with him. So they actually, at the very end of that, I'm talking about the animated series or the animated movie. At the very end of that animated movie, they had the old god fight the new god. So they had not Apocalypse, Darkseid fighting Trigon to be able to get them pushed into a boom tube and get the fuck out. Yes, Mumra against Monstar, I'm all for it. The war is definitely going to happen, and there's going to be some resolution, but yeah, really cool. Listen, we're not getting another Silverhawks cartoon. We're probably not getting another Thundercats cartoon. Probably not in our lifetime, or I'm going to be so freaking, walking on crutches by the time we get something like that. So being able to get this and being able to get it done by, a couple of creative teams that are, spot on, because Declan was doing Terminator as well. So yeah, so really solid writer, really solid artist and stuff like that. Like I said, if you're a fan of the 80s, definitely pick it up. If you know somebody who is, pick it up for them. They will not be disappointed. I'm really looking forward to this. 15 issues is an investment off of that. So, and it's funny because I was listening to something the other day where you have long form podcasts that are like 2-3 hours that people just listen to, and what's been missing in this particular medium is long form comics. Especially amongst the big two is where most people are going. But the days of running 100 200 issues is kind of seems long gone in our respects. We have relaunches of #1s, like, I don't know, every 6 months or whatever it is, just for whatever reason. And I think that being able to do something like this where you have this crossover event, that it's going to run 15 issues, and if it's popular enough, maybe they'll run it a little bit longer. What's the last long form independent book that you can think of that was more than 100 issues? It was probably Invincible.
Well, yeah, I mean, as far as that, I mean, again, you have
But
Spawn.
like, you have Spawn, it's still going on right now.
You have Cerebus. It was Dave Sims' goal to hit 300 issues on Cerebus. And
yeah, that's regurgitated stuff.
Well, no. It was all new material. Some would say the back 100 wasn't worth being published.
Okay.
But it was all new stuff. It was the later stuff that he was doing that I think was all sort of recycled material. But Cerebus 1 through 300, yeah, that was all new at the time. Again, a lot of padding towards the end just to make it to 300.
Yes. You got Savage Dragon.
Savage Dragon.
That's hanging on.
Yeah.
But they're far and few in between.
Yeah, and you're talking about, I mean, I still consider Spawn a singular creator, because even though he hasn't written every issue and he hasn't obviously illustrated every issue. Todd is still the showrunner for Spawn, at least the main title.
No, you know
But
what? I'll give it, because if we look at long form for like X-Men or anything like that,
it
we
always
have
passes
creative
hands. It's
teams.
their
Yeah,
IPs that pass hand. Yeah.
right, right.
Eric Larson, still the only man who's doing Savage Dragon writing and art.
I think there's maybe one or two issues that he didn't do, and that was in the early days.
Yeah.
That's when, remember when they crossed over and they did each other's comics.
Yeah.
I think that was the only time that he gave that up.
Even
But other
Eastman
than
and
that,
Laird handed off Ninja Turtles, came back for a bit, handed it off again, you know. So yeah, it's I think that's part of it too, is a lot of the, you know, a lot of your indie books, you know, are singular creators. You know, you look at like Peter Badge and his Buddy Chronicles, right? You know, his hate stuff and things like that. You know, he's doing new content, but it was probably a good 15, 20 years between previous hate material. But that
Right.
hate as a comic has been around for almost 40 years now.
Right,
You know?
right. But
not
then it's a multiple
consecutive.
volumes. That's the same thing with Turtles. Like if you look at the original Turtle run, how long did it go?
Oh God, I mean, you know, the first volume might have hit 50.
Yeah.
But then the second volume started right after that. That went really long. But again, it wasn't always Eastman and Laird, and they weren't always in control.
Right.
Like Todd has been for Spawn.
Right. Yeah, and that's okay. I mean, but if we look at the old school stuff, like the creative teams changed over, but obviously you're dealing with, you know, a single IP. So if we look at X-Men turn into Uncanny and stuff like that, it ran for how long with different, you know, creative teams. And I think Spawn is the only thing right now that has done that.
Yeah.
If you think about it, because it started with Todd. He gave it up early on because you got Greg Capullo was drawing it for so long. He was writing it. And it took him a long time. I mean, we're looking at, he's at 3 something now, whatever it is. And he just gave up writing on it. He's still doing story plot stuff every now and then on the main book, but he's pretty much hands off. And it's, you know, Brett Booth, I think, is still drawing it, if I'm not mistaken, and then somebody else is writing it. But I think he has creative input, obviously, because it's still his property.
Yeah, it's more notable when the big two companies don't continue publishing something after a creator leaves, like Sandman or James Robinson and Tony Harris and Peter Snedberg Starman, you know, things like that they do allow those the potential to continue those to not happen. I always think that it's more notable when a big company doesn't expand the balloon, when they just let it lie.
Yeah. But I think it's more, I don't know. I just don't know. Because I don't think you can reboot Spawn. You're not going to get another Spawn #1.
Yeah, but there's Rat City. There's these iterations. These are other spin-offs.
Iterations, right?
You know, look, down the road, if Todd,
how many X-Men #1s have we had?
Oh, sure. I mean, and in spin-off books and things like that. No, I absolutely, I definitely agree with you there. Like, that's why I'm saying it's more notable when the big two decide not to continue publishing a successful book.
Yeah, it's just.
I mean, even if Todd walks away and gives up creative control to whoever else him and Jim Valentino decide to continue Spawn, it's possible that whoever would pick up that mantle after Todd walks away would do a ground up reboot of Spawn and just keep the look, you know, and tell a new story.
Right.
You don't know.
Yeah, you never know. All right. Well, that's all that we have for you guys. All right, just really quickly, just want to give a shout out again because I was so happy that they came in.
Yeah.
Project Shadow Breed #2 again, guys. Kickstarter, successful on that one. Thank you guys for hopping on and supporting us on there. Obviously, the physical copies are going to go to our Kickstarter, guys. Physical copies, like I said, will probably be available towards the end of part of this year. We're trying to get the entire first volume done so that anybody who's really interested in reading Project Shadow Breed, they'll have definitely the first volume completed. And we're kicking on. I mean, we've got, I think, issues 5, 6, and 7 already in the can as well, as far as being written and ideas out. Issue 3 is almost done now, and then issue 4 is going to go right after that. So yeah, we're in a good place, and then we got some other stories that are cooking up as well. So no sleep till Brooklyn is what they say. So yeah, look out for information on that, as that'll be trickling down the road. As always, we're going to be here every Thursday at 6 p.m. live talking about comics. Hopefully, we don't let another 3 weeks go by. It was just a really hectic time. And then we had free comic book days this past weekend. And some people were setting up for, and other people were just out of the zone kind of thing. So, yeah. All right, kiddies, that's all that we have for you this week. So if you like what you heard, yeah, subscribe to the podcast. Better yet, be here every Thursday with 100 of your closest friends to listen to us talk about comics and maybe even participate a little bit with some questions. If you want to be on the podcast, this is the only thing that I will say to you. John and I are taking a hiatus, not from reviews, but just from having creators on for the summer. So you can still fill out the podcast form over at indiecreatorcomics.com. We're going to start filling up our spots for early September and on from there. So we definitely want to continue to have guests on, but we're looking at having a nice, time off for the summer and just spending one day out of the week talking about comics with all of you guys. If you're on the social medias, just go to Indie Creator Comics on any one of the social medias. Give us a follow there. And last but not least, support your local comic book shop, because without them, we would not be able to do what we love to do, and that is read comics. John, where do you get your comics from?
Well, I get my comics at The Joker's Child in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, where when I'm not talking about comics this one day of the week, I'm talking about comics every other day of the week, because that's what we do at The Joker's Child. We talk about comics and we sell comics. And now that Free Comic Book Day is over, it doesn't mean that the fun has stopped. We still have lots of great goodies there for you. We got new books still coming in. We got great wall books for you to peruse and take a look and fill out those holes in your Holy Grail collection. And we've got toys and pops and all Pokemon cards and all other sorts of fun stuff. So why don't you come on down to The Joker's Child in Fair Lawn, New Jersey? If you can't make it to The Joker's Child, go patronize your local comic shop, wherever they may be.
There you go, kiddies. All right, until next time, we want to thank you for joining us on the Indie Creative Comics Podcast, where we are all about independent comics.